Hello everyone and welcome back to the VCO Esports studio. Today we continue our journey through sim racing with someone getting ready to jump into the next generation of sim racing competition. Ryan Barneveld is part of the Zebra squad, the BS competition team, and he's getting ready to head over to Katowice for ESL R1 this coming weekend. Ryan, delighted to have you joining us here today. Of course, you've already had a successful start to the year. How are you feeling as you get ready to head over to Poland?
Yeah, hello everyone. Pretty excited, honestly. I'm looking forward to it, and preparation has been going pretty well, so we're looking we're looking good.
Talk a little bit though about how you started in sim racing, and we'll work our way through a couple of different conversations. Of course, people will know you mostly as part of this BS competition squad, but we were chatting just before we went live. I forgot that you were part of Full Send Racing. Can you talk a little bit about your journey into the world of iRacing?
Um, yeah, so I started sim racing with just Logitech G29 on the desk, doing a set course. I think it was Nordschleife servers really, um, and then I wanted to do some competitive, racing, and the only real platform that looked suitable for this was iRacing. So I hopped on iRacing. I started driving, and then at some point, I got a message from Steen Ledger. Some people might know him, and I joined Full Set Racing with, I think, Charlie Collins was already there and Alexander Masia, and yeah, from there on, just improving in a team atmosphere. So that's how it that's how I got here.
It's quite funny when you look back on it. Charlie Collins, of course, now part of VRS and Sim Sports. So, how you could start from such a small base, but then rise to the very top level of sim racing. After your time with Full Send Racing, though, working your way up, getting better and better, you then made your way over into one of the big green machines over at Maniti Racing. What did your time at Maniti teach you that you didn't necessarily get at Full Send Racing as you worked your way up the ladder?
Well, my time at Full Set Racing was really, getting. It was at the beginning, so I didn't know what things did. I didn't know anything about the setup. I didn't really do any big races. Um, and then when I joined Manatee, they were already pretty established, and then the big races started to come: top split, special events, Neo, SEO, leagues like that. Um, so then, the competitive aspect really started kicking in, and yeah, again in a team environment, we just kept improving, doing better, doing better. So yeah, and then at some point, I got a message from someone at BS Competition, and I accepted the offer, and since then it has been really competitive.
Before we talk about BS competition, we have to ask the question: Manatee. You said Manatee. How do we say the team name?
Um, I think there's multiple ways, honestly. No one has really told me either, so I just call it Manatee. You can call it Manidi, it doesn't really matter.
So it's always fun on broadcast when we get to hear the various ways that people will end up saying the team name. Okay, so you mentioned Maniti was the time when you were getting more used to the top level competition. The time then comes to join up with BS competition, and of course, when you joined BS competition, they were already somewhat established at that time. They had joined us, I think, at the end of 2019. You joined them, I think, end of 2020-ish, kind of. What was it like going into an environment now where you're in a team with BMW backing? It's a little bit bigger of an environment and maybe a little bit more pressure on your shoulders as well.
Yeah, it was kind of a change of pace, but not really. The team atmosphere was still really good. That's also something I always said that I wanted. If I, the team atmosphere, the people at Manatee were all really great, and I always told myself that if I switch teams, go maybe even bigger, then I really want to be in a good environment. And PS is like that. There is no pressure. There is some expectations, of course, but the real motive is, to just do as best as we can. So in that aspect, not too much changed. It still is a really great team. The people there are really great. So yeah, we just started doing bigger races and maybe doing better as what I did before. So that's was the real change compared to
Now,
before.
And we've very much become seen you become a staple of the BMW competitions, Sim 120, GT Cup, MSIM Cup now as it's called, 24-hour series, SEO, special events and whatnot. But why haven't we necessarily seen you try and head on over like some of your BS competition teammates have done this year now in the form of Oscar Reno? Why haven't we seen some more World Championship endeavors from you? Do you not like that Porsche Cup car? Because I think that is a fair statement. Not everyone gets along with it.
Honestly, when I look how the quali format is and the car itself, I'm not a big fan. It seems too much, really. When I started, I always liked the endurance races more, and I kind of like the sprint races probably more now, but more in the unique formats like VCO does. Honestly, with the different cars, different tracks, Infinity is really fun to do, honestly. So I never looked into PESC, and I probably won't ever do it either. The grind is just too much, and I'm not a big fan of the car either. So that's why. If there's, iRacing, please, GT3 Pro Series, WC, I'll be up to do that. But Porsche Cup, I'll pass.
I mean, we did see you in the BS competition team get, what was it, third place in the IMSA Esports Michelin Global Championship at the end of last year. So it's not like we haven't seen you in the big competitions. Just always curious why certain people don't go over to certain cars and certain series. Let's talk a little bit about something you just had the opportunity to do. Head on over to the Daytona International Speedway for the Rolex 24, not just to watch the race, but also to compete in the 2023 Pro Sim Racing Sprint Championship Series presented by Coliseum in VRS. It's a fantastic series name. But what was that experience like? I think that would have been your first in-person LAN event as well, competing with two of your teammates and then, of course, Jordan Caruso. What was the experience like for you at the World Center of Racing?
Yeah, the only LAN event I've done before was Sim Expo in 2021. That already went pretty well. So I was looking forward to do this one again because this was even in the US at the 24 hours. So that alone really motivated me to do well in the championship. Yeah, the experience itself was really great. Of course, it was also fun that my teammates were there. Florian was there. Bruno was there as well racing, Robbie was there, so it was kind of a sort of team meeting, even though we actually each had their own races to do. To participate in it, everything was managed quite well by VRS and Coliseum, so yeah, that was really fun. The race was fun, and props to Caruso taking it up in a 3v1. That was not easy for him. But yeah, the entire weekend was really great.
How was it as well? Of course, you were there representing BS Competition, an official BMW sim racing team. You got to do a lot of stuff, of course, alongside with Turner Motorsports. Did you get the chance to sit in one of the BMW M4 GT3s?
No, I don't. No, we did not. We did go to the garage though, and I have sit in one before, but we didn't do it this weekend. We actually went to the garage when they were doing driver change practice, so it was not the best moment to hop in the car ourselves.
I mean, you should have just said, I can help be there for a little bit of the time. I do want to ask, though,
Yeah.
I was there when Gregor Schill, your BS competition teammate, got his chance to sit in a BMW M4 GT3. What was your experience sitting in the car then? You said you've had that opportunity, comparing it to the viewpoint that you've gotten quite used to here in the sim world.
Honestly, it's way more tinier than I expected. There's not a lot of view outside. It's completely different, honestly, than what you're used to. I mean, when you sit at the sim rig at home, you have quite a lot of space. There's no door. There's no dashboard to look over. So that kind of surprised me that it is really tight in those cockpits, and must be pretty crazy to go like 280 on it at Daytona.
I'm just saying, it sounds like for the LAN events of the future, we need enclosed cockpits just to make you feel a little bit more claustrophobic. Of course, you're going to be doing an in-person event this coming weekend. You're going to be racing the BMW M4 in the upcoming first round of the ESL R1 competition on RENNSPORT for the very first time. How are you feeling going into a competition on a platform that you are experiencing, I'm sure, for the very first time, along with your competitors, and all just trying to get up to speed as quickly as you can?
Yeah, what it's like. I've never done something like this before. Mainly, I've just been doing iRacing. Really, I've done a little bit of R Factor. I've done a little bit of ACC, but nothing to this scale. So I think everyone is going into the unknown pretty much. You don't really know what's gonna happen, where everyone is. Are there any tricks in the game? Are we missing something on pace? Is my driving not good enough? I don't think anyone really knows. So I'm hopeful. I think that we are able to adapt pretty good as a team. So yeah, we're just practicing hard, and we'll see on Saturday where we are.
It's going to be you, Phil Denez, Niels Naujoks, Reina Talvar, and then team captain Bruno Spengler. There was a fun little chat and conversation on the BS Competition Twitch page yesterday, so if anyone wants to go and see the full team getting hyped up and ready to go for this weekend, do go over and check that one out. But from your perspective, Ryan, as well, with this format, which is very much splitting the team up into the drivers and heading out race by race, one by one, what do you expect with this sort of a format, as you're going to be doing a lot of watching on rather than necessarily racing?
I'm excited to watch as well because I mean it's going to be sprint races, 12 cars on the track. Um, it'll get pretty crazy, I think. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, racing myself as well, but watching my teammates go at it is also pretty fun. So should be a good watch, honestly.
I did have a question, by the way, from Iku Marikala. He wants to know where you're taking him out for dinner on Thursday night.
I didn't even know he was there, honestly. So I guess we'll see on Thursday. I think we already have something planned. So he needs to message Florian, maybe.
There we go, lovely. In terms, though, of in-person events, you mentioned Sim Racing Expo 2021. I'm sure that would have had a somewhat decent crowd, but not this event at Daytona definitely didn't have a crowd. You're going to be heading to an environment where I do think you're going to have a decent amount of people watching you and maybe a little bit of noise in the background as well. Is that something that you've wondered about how that's going to affect you when you head into the competition itself?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're jumping into an environment that we're not usually at. Big stage, different rig, different equipment, everything different. So I have given it some thought, but I'm just going to try to block it out as much as possible and just act like I'm in my own room right here and just do the best we can, really.
And I guess the benefit of this not necessarily being Sim Racing Expo is there's going to be no pranks being played amongst the teams, right? No one trying to steal flags this time around.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe. No one knows.
Oh,
I
no
think the
one knows.
usual suspects might not be there. I forgot who actually did this last time, so maybe we're safe. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
I'm looking forward to following along with the shenanigans on social media. A couple of questions that I'll ask you as we begin to wrap up. Ryan, of course, you are. I have got the T-shirt on. I think everyone knows what my favorite BS competition livery is. It is the BS Turner livery, but you've got the chance to race a lot of the BS competition liveries. Which one's your favorite to go out and race with?
The Turner one was my favorite for a long time, but now that we have the BMW M livery for that we will be using this weekend, I think that is my new favorite, to be honest. But the Turner one is still in close second. BMW Bank looks good as well. It's a tough choice, honestly.
I guess you must also somewhat be relieved to see the end of Daytona for a little bit now as well. I've always said it's nice to go to Daytona at the start of the year for the 24 and then never go back again. But what was your experience like over the last couple of weeks with all the towing services and whatnot? A lot of memes, of course, coming up with that. But it's been a interesting couple of weeks at Daytona to kick off the year for the entire sim racing community.
Yeah. The best time I've had at Daytona was the real one. Let's keep it at that. The actual sim races. I'm glad they're over. I hope we don't see this in the next 10 months. So we'll revisit that in 10 months again. So yeah, let's see.
Of course, ESL R1, that's going to be the focus for a lot of the first half of the year. What else do you have on the agenda, though, for this year and your focus in terms of competition? Where are we expecting to see you racing over the course of this year?
Yeah, right now I think the main focus will be for ESL R1. It'll be on RENNSPORT. I think the guys that are doing it, Phil, Rainer, and me, from the iRacing side, I think we're still pretty committed to doing as much iRacing as we can. So I'm still hoping to do some races here and there, maybe special events, maybe some league races. So we'll try and make it happen. And other than that, I think it will mainly be ESL R1.
You say you want to do a lot of iRacing still this year. You've done a couple of races while you've been preparing. What's your experience of bouncing back and forth between RENNSPORT and iRacing? Of course, that's a big focus of ours here at VCO, especially running up to the Esports Racing World Cup, where drivers have to go on 3 different platforms in 3 different days. How long does it take you to kind of adjust as you switch back and forth?
Yeah, so when we first tried it, which was the week before the 24 hours of Daytona, so that's already like 2 or 3 weeks ago, switching back was honestly really tough. I think it took at least an hour, 1.5 hours or something to get back. So we really thought, okay, wow, this is not as easy as we maybe thought it would be. But now at the 120 that we had, or the BMW Sim Cup race, I don't know what the name is anymore. It went really easy, honestly. I think we were back on pace in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes or something, and it also doesn't affect then going back to RENNSPORT. So overall, pretty good switching back and forth.
That's good to hear. I think it's always interesting. Some drivers get on better with it, the adaptability than others. I'm also going to be curious to see, especially once we see you racing, how what your speed as the iRacing team switching over to RENNSPORT compares to Niels Naujok switching over from Assetto Corsa Competizione, because I think that's going to be an interesting comparison. Have a couple of fan questions that we're going to open it up to on our Twitch channel. The first one, of course, comes from Oscar Mangan, and he wants a statement on your Richard Burns rally career.
My Richard Burns rally career. This will be revisited because we have 3 Finnish people more into the team since a couple months. So you'll see more, Oscar. Don't worry.
We did see you as well as an IndyCar last year, so I'm hoping that maybe we'll see you racing a little bit more if we're allowed to do stuff over on iRacing. In terms of expectations and hopes, you've said where you want to be racing, but do you have personal goals that you kind of set for yourself as you look at the rest of the year? How do you try and approach your growth as a driver, being in the type of positions that you are?
Honestly, the only personal goal I've set is to just do as much as I can, as best as I can, compete in as many races as possible, and doing the best as possible, honestly. I don't really set other goals. I don't think, for me, setting hard goals like, oh, I really need to finish top 3 this weekend or something, it doesn't work for me. I'll just show up, do the best I can, and if it isn't there, then we'll just focus hard on improving it, and there'll be plenty of races left in the season to get better. So, yeah, that's really my approach.
Final question before we wrap things up here. You said that you started on Assetto Corsa at the Nordschleife. Does that mean you're in agreement with me that the Nordschleife is one of the best tracks in the world?
It is the best. So
oh, there we go. Second best. I've decided that the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is number 1.
I can't agree with that, but each to their own. So
it's okay. Lewis McLean thinks the Bathurst is the best track in the world.
Well, he's definitely wrong. So yeah.
There we go. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Sebring, really good.
Sebring, we'll talk more about that maybe in a future episode of the VCO Esports Studio. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Best of luck this coming weekend in ESL R1 as you kick things off at Katowice. Can't wait to see how things go for you and the BMW BS competition team.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
It's going to wrap up another episode of the VCO Esports Studio. Do remember to follow along with all the action from ESL R1. It's going to be very exciting to see the next generation of sim racing competition getting its legs underneath it. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with another episode of the VCO Esports Studio. For the entire team behind us, Mike Yao behind the scenes, my name's Arjuna Kankipati saying thank you for now. We'll see you next time. For now, race on.